kick is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of The Extra Point. It's your boy. What up, Frank? Good to see you, man.
What's up, Phil? Yeah, good to be on your show, man. It was a long time coming, I think, here, right?
Long time. I know we were just chatting backstage. We said we've done like one show in the 2 years I've been with this. We've been doing one show together. So stoked for this one. Dude, first time I've gotten a really opportunity to use the new intro. So pretty excited about that. I love how that looks and sounds. We might keep tweaking that, but
yeah,
we love it. Tonight, for those that are listening, for those that are going to jump on to Spotify and onto Patreon and listen to this back, I know a lot of you have probably already done your redraft league because last weekend was probably the biggest weekend in of the season for redrafts. But for those that haven't, or for those that are thinking about trades, or oh shoot, I made a mistake, we're going to do our do not draft list tonight. And I have my oldest, Frank, I'm going to ask you about yours in just a second, but I have my oldest league, 25 years now. That's how old I am, that we've been doing this league since college. It is as straight a redraft league as it gets. I finally got the guys 2 years ago to go to a half PPR league. And I finally got them to move to Sleeper, get off that outdated Yahoo platform. So if that gives you any kind of indication of the true league, home league. What is your oldest league, Frank? What is, or maybe not your oldest, but if you have one that you care about the most?
I run two leagues, and my oldest league is about 25 years old.
Nice.
We're right there with you. We're still on Yahoo. So, Yahoo. As a matter of fact, we had the same conversation that you just brought up. It's so funny. Literally, I think somebody brought up, can we change the half PPR?
Yeah.
And it was like, put it in the vote. We got a group chat that everybody's in. Got dropped down. We're like, no. Even Anthony wanted to, because I have a cap on moves. Because we put a cap on moves back in the day because people were waiver wire hawks. They were just like picking up, dropping players, and it was like, what are you doing here? You're like blocking people from picking up some guys, and so we put a block on that. That it's still being voted on, but honestly, I already seen the number of people already kind of like none of that. They just keep it OG. It's an OG league. It just is what it is, man. It's nothing fancy. It just has extra, a couple extra points for 100+ yards, and this is that. That's about it. Like it's just as basic as fantasy has come. Like when we started, that's what we got.
Yep, I love it. Well, I got Rasta here in the chat saying, "Preach, Phil, get those boys off of that." He's saying, "Try and get Frank to change our home league, half PPR, change the limit, those darn moves." So. He knows. So I had to text Rasta today because we're in a guillotine league with you, Frank, where it's an 8-hour clock. The season, the NFL season kicks off in 9 days. It was an 8-hour clock, and we were, after 4 days, 2 rounds into a draft. So we got Rasta to drop that clock in half. So we actually have.
You said the exact same thing I did too, bro. I mentioned someone was like, "Can we get this to 4 hours at this rate? We're not going to be starting. We're not going to. You're not
even going to have a team here come next Thursday."
And I still have another draft coming up on Thursday. We have one more draft coming up, so that should be good. For this home league that he's talking about, that Anthony's referencing, I just drafted yesterday another one. We're in 2 drafts right now, and I want to save some tidbits that you brought up here in this list that I want to mention because, quite honestly, I think I made a mistake.
Yeah, and you know what? I just made a trade tonight in a Dynasty league that we got started up about a week ago, and I'm not trying. My team is what it always is built for, right? Wide receiver heavy, and so I obviously I sold one of my guys because I'm just not trying to win in year one. I almost never do in my Dynasty leagues. I'm looking for some future draft capital and was able to get that. And then there were some comments in there about the trade. And then Kendall, of course, big shocker, he made a trade as well. And some comments that came up for him were, talking about value and talking about guys. And he referenced it. He said, look, I made some mistakes in the draft. It was an auction draft. He said, I didn't get in on certain players. This is my chance to rectify that. So that's obviously Dynasty. Tonight, we are going to be talking about redraft.
Yeah,
For
I
those
streamed some of that thing, and I didn't understand. I forgot what player, like everybody else in that league, had two QBs or one QB at least, and this guy was just waiting to the very last end. And I think he had Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. He was solid at running back,
oh yeah,
and he still had plenty of money. I didn't understand there were some QBs that I seen put up, and he wasn't
yeah,
even bidding on them. I didn't understand
yeah. There was
his logic.
there was a couple guys in that league that were new to auction. It was the first time they had done one. There was a lot of sharps in that league, so they were getting great values, getting guys. But there was one or two guys I think were, to be fair, like most guys are in an auction, scared they were going to go bankrupt and just have a team full of $1 players and just set them teams back 2-3 years. But
that was me the first time I did one. I ran out of money quick. I was like, oh,
that's the whole point.
And
man.
I think they didn't even have that $1. They had zero bid guys that I had to like pick up later on. I had a garbage team. I mean, you live and learn. You gotta.
Yep.
I think we should do some mocks next year on an auction, although they're
Totally.
really long.
Yeah.
It would be cool to just get one in, right?
We should. And to be fair, it's there is no set strategy. The strategy is very simple in my mind. Get your guys. That is the strategy. Yeah. Right. Like there's all this thing. I don't want to talk too much on it because obviously the folks are here for the do not draft list because there's still plenty of people, myself included. I've got one draft left. That's all I've got, and it's my oldest league. It's the one that I care. You know what? It's not very much money, but like I care the most about it, because it's my buddies. I want to beat my buddies, my brothers, like the guys I've been playing with for years and years and years. Otherwise I'm done drafting. I'm done. Best ball's too expensive. Like I'm done drafting. Like it's time to get real points in our team, as Ruskin and I like to say. Like, here we go. So but my point on, just to come back on the Dynasty thing real quick, because mostly this is a Dynasty show for those who are new viewers. Get your guys in an auction league because there's, you could say, oh, save your money. The problem when saving money is a lot of guys just end up bidding you up. Right. And then at the end of the day, it's like, well, do I really want to pay $45 for a player that I should be getting for 12? Right. So it's like there's a whole lot. We could do multiple shows on it. We won't get into it. But why don't we talk about some redraft, Frank? And obviously, we want to start tonight at the very top.
Before we do that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess this comment was related to
what
we
were
talking about. My home league, we're limited to 30 ad drops. See, I'm at 40, and Anthony wants to move to 50 or 60. But forget
that guy's opinion. We don't need him.
I'm just saying, we're not the only ones out there that have, because people did pick up a bunch of players and blocking people. And so, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that. I just want to say what's up to John here. He's saying what's up. Anthony's still got, talking about the clock. But yes, let's move on here. Let's get the nitty-gritty real quick.
Let's jump in. Look, I want to just preface this before we jump in, because last year Kendall and I did this show, and I will say this as a caveat. A lot of what we talked about was not because we didn't think guys were good players. It was because we thought relative to their ADP, they were better picks, or we thought guys were being overdrafted because of hype, or we thought guys wouldn't produce in return on that ROI. And so that's a lot of what we're going to say and talk about tonight. And I will say this as well. We put Sam Laporta on the do not draft list last year on this show, and people roasted us. But it's the same thing. He had to return tight end one numbers, and he didn't. He had a terrible season. If you drafted him in the second round, I hope you got to the playoffs, and I hope you won your league. I'm guessing you probably didn't, because you passed on so much value to end up getting a player who did not return on that. We said, do not draft CJ Stroud. A same kind of thing. If my memory's right, he was like a 4th or 5th round pick, and there was just better players and quarterbacks that were going later. We got roasted for that one too. So I'm not saying that what we're about to do, because we were right on those tonight, means that we're guaranteed to be correct tonight. But what we are saying with these players is, when you're on the clock, and I would assume you have maybe 60 seconds to maybe 2 or 3 minutes in your redraft league, just take some of what we're saying into consideration, because it could help you pivot to a player that is going to be on, spoiler alert, the next show that we're going to do, which is League Winners. And again, think about some of this, because especially when I'm going to get into some of this, I love my data, and I love my data points to prove why I believe my take is my take. So again, we're not saying these players are bad players. If you have a particular conviction on them, draft them. That's the beauty of fantasy. We can absolutely be wrong. You could be right, and vice versa. But again, just take a listen to what we have to say tonight, because it could help you a lot. So let's start at the top, Frank. Let's start at quarterback, and we're going to go. You only have one? Or you have 2?
I only put one up.
All right. So then I'll go first then, since I have 2 players.
I was
And
a
I
late
want-
addition to the show, people. So but we're here, and I put in some people in real quick right before
well, and we hope if Kendall's out there, he's feeling better because he was
Kendall got sick,
strep
so.
throat or whatever he's got. I think he just doesn't like me. I think he just doesn't want to do the show with me anymore. So let's talk about Mr. Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position as a do not draft for me this season. Look, it's simple for me. He's coming off of the worst statistical season of his career. He doesn't run. He scrambles. That is a difference. There's a difference between scrambling and running. He doesn't run, so he's not going to add a lot by way of his legs outside of some scrambles. But he threw for 39-28 last year, 26 touchdowns, over 11 interceptions. Travis Kelce's now a year older and engaged. Congratulations to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. But I bring that up to say I'm sure wedding planning is really going to help him focus more on football.
Yeah, right.
Because he talked about it. He said, I probably wasn't as focused the last year as I should have been. I was trying to set up other areas of my life and my career. And that's fine. We all are going to have a life. Well, we not all, but all these guys, these NFL players are going to have a life after football. And good for the Kelce's for going into something that's going to make them so much more money than they ever did with their podcast, than they ever did playing football, right? But he's a year older. He wasn't and hasn't been what he's been. Rashee Rice, we know, is available for 4 games. But then what? Because the news I've heard, and I'm sure you've seen, Frank, was the NFL wanted a 10 to 12 game suspension. The NFLPA came back and said that's ridiculous. There's no precedent for it. But they're still talking about a 6 to 8 game suspension for Rashee Rice. The Chiefs added Jalen Royals, who I like a lot in Dynasty, but not this season. Hollywood Brown's not trained pretty much the majority of training camp. He's been injured. So you're talking about running back basically the exact same offense that you had last season, which produced Mahomes' worst statistical year. And again, they have the 11th most difficult strength of schedule, and their defense is excellent. They have a fantastic defense. It's what got them to the Super Bowl. They were in 11 one-score games last year. Now, that doesn't matter for fantasy, but it does mean that they're not getting into a lot of shootouts. A lot of their games are pretty close.
Yeah, they're pretty tight.
And they're coming down to a field goal. So when you're looking at over-unders, when you're looking at Patrick Mahomes, you're talking about a 5th-round quarterback. To me, there are better values later in the draft that are going to produce or finish at the end of the season on a points per game basis or a total basis, very close to, if not outproduce, what Mahomes is. So I think you're paying a premium price for the name and not for his fantasy value. You're really drafting him for his real life NFL quarterback value. So that is my case against drafting Patrick Mahomes in the 5th. Frank, who you got at quarterback?
I got a simple one, man. And this should be obvious to people, is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, obviously the last couple of seasons he's been playing, it's just been horrendous. It's not what he used to be. He got injured over there right off the bat with the Jets. I mean, literally just step back, boom, gone, out for the season. Next you know, he comes back and just has a terrible season. Then Pittsburgh picks him up here, and they're, doing the last hurrah or something. Who is it? I forget even who he's not. He's not even on Pittsburgh no more. Who's he with now? I can't even remember.
Who?
Aaron
Rodgers? He's up Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking Russell Wilson for whatever reason. So yeah, it's just I just haven't seen the numbers escalate and again, like you mentioned, for Travis Kelce and these guys, 1 year older, 1 year more removed, a new system, different set of teams. I mean, even last they brought in his buddy there. I can't think of his name now. Adam, or the wide receiver.
Alan Lazard when he was on the Jets.
Alan Lazard too, but the wide receiver from Oakland, they went over there to back.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams. I couldn't even think of his name. Hi, man. I always in the shows I need to have my notes. Really, is what I need to prepare. But even then, with Devontae Adams showing up, he just, what do they do? Nothing. I see people draft him like kind of late, even as a backup or whatever. I'd rather take my chances on Danny Dimes or just anybody else, really. Like, honestly, maybe get Spencer Rattler, and he just got appointed as a starter. You know what I mean? Like somebody.
You never thought you would hear a sentence that said Aaron Rodgers and Spencer Rattler in the same tier, but that's where we are, isn't it?
Yeah,
so.
it's really that's where he's being drafted at, and I've seen players wait. They're doing this, super flex leagues, and they're like, oh, I'll take the second guy, and that's going to be Aaron Rodgers as the second QB. I would not feel comfortable with that.
Agreed. Agreed.
They're
Yep.
waiting and taking all the positional players, which is what you're supposed to be doing. Especially now, it's changed. All our drafts were initially take 2 QBs off the bat, then go your positional players. Now people are taking maybe 1 QB, or the top 5 are off the board, and then people are getting their positional players, waiting and picking their time to win, to get into QB, and then get another one once the runs start for them, which is the better option, I believe. I think that you build better teams that way, not just relying on your quarterbacks to get you all the points.
Yeah.
And you're building a better team. I just think he's washed up, man. You got to let it go. At some point, he's a has-been, and you got to move on.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you brought something up that I failed to mention at the top of the show, and I do think it's really important. We'll just talk about it real quick right now. Please understand your league settings. If you're playing super flex, you don't have to. You should have a second quarterback and a third if you can, but you don't have to put a quarterback in that spot. If you're in a single quarterback league, my recommendation is to only take 1 quarterback. I don't want to put an extra quarterback on my roster unless I really, really punt. And even then, I would still rather stream somebody. So it's just really important as we get into the positional players here, the running backs and the wide receivers. Understand if you're in a half PPR or full PPR or standard league. I know there's still some folks that do play standard. I don't. I know you don't, but there's still a handful of folks out there.
We do. There's a couple standard.
So so understand your league settings, right? Are there special bonuses? I wouldn't really draft a player based on special bonuses, but if you're between 2 players, sure, maybe you're at a running back, go for the guy that can hit the home run, and that gets you 1 or 2 extra points, a couple times a season. But in these half PPR and full PPR formats, it really does make a difference when you're evaluating players, especially position against position. If I'm in a PPR format, I'm almost always going to want wide receivers in my flex spot over the running backs. That's me personally. Their targets are generally about 1.5 points per target, where it's 1.2, 1.3 points per target for the running back position. So let's dive in on my second quarterback.
Yep. What do we got?
It's old Mighty Mouse. It's the can't see over the offensive line, Mr. Kyler Murray, Mr. Call of Duty. Look, Kyler Murray, I think people are tired of Kyler Murray. I know the excitement last year around Marvin Harrison Jr. was there. I think Marv's going to have a bounce back season. I do think he's going to be very good. But my question about Kyler is this. He continually gets drafted as this QB1. And last year was the first time in 3 years that he finished as a top 12 quarterback. So Arizona added no offensive weapons. They didn't add anybody in the draft. They didn't add a big pass catcher. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. They have maybe the number 1 overall, potentially number 2 overall. I think most people would agree number 2 overall consensus tight end in Trey McBride. Trey Benson looks better. He's been talked about as being more involved, which means Kyler should run less. If you have 2 healthy backs, and we know that James Conner's not going to play all 17. Last year was the first time in his career that he played all 17 games. So if Conner and Benson are both healthy, that means there's less opportunity for Kyler to run, and that's kind of where he's giving you that edge and that boost because he's not a great passer. He's QB9 right now. His ADP is at the 809. Here's some players, Frank, that you are giving up to draft Kyler Murray. Emeka Egbuka, who might be, other than Bill Krosky, the hottest name right now in the NFL draft. He's a huge, huge riser. Jalen Warren, who I think would be a phenomenal RB3 for your team in the 8th, 9th round. Ricky Pearsall, who's probably going to be the wide receiver 1 in San Francisco for a while. Justin Herbert, if you really want another quarterback. I'd rather have Justin Herbert than Kyler Murray. But here it is, Frank. Give me Dak Prescott in the 10th, or even reach, quote unquote, for Dak Prescott in the 9th. I think Dak's going to have a much better season. I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth because you're going to love it. I am more in on the Cowboys this season's passing attack for fantasy than I have ever been in my life. I still don't think you're winning the Super Bowl. Sorry. No. But I'm in on the Cowboys passing attack. I love the addition of George Pickens. Obviously, we love CD. I am completely fading their running game, as most people should, which means I think their passing volume is going to I think their passing volume is going to be great. So I'm going to pass on Kyler in the 8th, and I'm going to go take Dak around later because I'd rather have Egbuka, Warren, Pearsall in my team with Dak as my quarterback and feel really good about my flex. Or if I'm really sharp, having one of those guys as a bench stash would be phenomenal. So out on Kyler Murray in the 8th round at quarterback 9 overall.
I mean, he's going to be he's probably going to be outside the top 10 this year. Like he mentioned, they didn't bring any new offensive weapons for him. Trey Benson will probably be sharing carries with Connor, if not
Agreed.
take the lead road if he ever gets injured. And we like Marvin Harrison.
Agreed.
We like the tight end, but it just he's not going to produce what he's been doing in the past. All this run, I really don't see it anymore. Like you said,
I'm
he's
with
just
you.
not a good pass. He needs to do what Lamar Jackson did. He converted his game from running all the time to actually passing the ball here and there. And he could still run the ball when needed, but it needs to pass.
For those that are playing along at home, if you are on YouTube, jump in the chat. Show us, throw some names of players that are on your do not draft list. We'd love to hear who you guys are.
Who you guys got?
All right, Frank, let's switch it over to the running back position. I know we have 2 names each. I will kick it over to you. Let you kick us off here. Who is your first do not draft runner?
Well, we were worried about here about Joe Mixon, but we kind of fading on him. And due to the injury concerns, we'll miss 4 games due to foot and ankle injuries. Dameon Pierce or the rookie looking pretty good. Nick Chubb has also come back to them late. So I actually drafted Joe Mixon in one of my leagues. I'm telling you, I made some mistakes this year. Things happen. You know what I mean? I was hoping that he would be back, and then you start hearing this. He's not going to be available, pup list situation, and I'm like scrambling. Like I should have just grabbed somebody else. I just felt like he was going to be coming back, but they were just like not giving you any info as to when he was going to be there. So I'm looking for Dameon Pierce or even possibly the rookie over there. And hopefully maybe Nick Chubb could carry the load, but coming back from some really serious, devastating injuries. He's done it in the past, but he is older now. Your body doesn't recover like it has, and it'd be amazing if he actually does return and produce the numbers he has in the past, because he's been a great running back. But it's just hard to put your money there, as they say, right? To start with these guys. So yeah, that's who I'm fading first is Joe Mixon. Just kind of, obviously the injury is a big concern, but I mean, I kind of drafted him early and was hoping that, this wasn't that bad of an issue.
Yeah, I think and there's some comments in the chat that I'll get to here in just a second. I think there was some hope that Mixon would maybe just kind of miss some time in camp, but still be ready for the regular season. And so you felt like maybe because of the injury news throughout camp, he would drop and be a value and be a guy that you'd be like, oh, I can grab Joe Mixon. But with this news on the pup, and then I heard today the words you don't want to hear, and especially as a Niners fan, we've heard it for years with Debo, was that awful Liz Frank. They're talking that's potentially what it is, and they're just not saying it. Because here's the caveat, Frank. No one will say what's wrong with him.
Yeah, that they don't talk
right?
about
Like
it, right?
That's the part that scares me off of Joe Mixon is sure the pup is awful news, and like, yeah, don't draft the guy. That's why we're talking about him. But like there's players that you feel like Chris Godwin, we know what's wrong with him. Buccaneers have said we are going to ramp him up. He's not going to be available for a couple weeks, but he's not on the pup, meaning that he can practice. He can start getting himself ready to go. Brandon Ayuk, we know what's wrong with him. We saw the injury. He won't be back till week 6 or week 7. I think it's possible. It is in the range of outcomes. Let's just say that it is in the range of outcomes that Mixon misses the season. And it is 2025's Christian McCaffrey. Certainly not that level of talent, right? That you're not drafting him at the 101, but at the same time, it's like, I'm a Niners fan. We sat all summer and said, oh, McCaffrey's going to be back. McCaffrey's going to be back. And then where was he? In Germany, getting injections and getting surgery. Like I think it's possible Mixon misses the year. So I'm going to move into.
Which doesn't bode well for me.
Yeah, well, at least he's not your RB2 in Dynasty where you don't have an RB3 like I have in one of my leagues. So it looks like my first round pick just got more valuable.
Wow.
At least I have Ashton Genty. So here we go. Thankfully, it's Dynasty. Let's talk about KW3, Kenneth Walker III.
Nice.
Look, it's hard for me because I like the player. I think everybody likes the player. But again, here's what we're saying. At his draft position, there are better players. So his ADP right now is the 408. He is coming off the board as the RB17. Here's my issue with him being drafted as the RB17. His career finishes are 18, 19, and 27. So to draft someone at the RB17, what you are saying is you're asking him to be drafted at what he has always historically done for you. Or you're asking him to exceed an ADP and beat his projection, which he has never done. And here's the problem with that. They're talking about a timeshare with Zach Charbonnet. We've seen Zach Charbonnet. He catches passes. He's strong. He's a good goal line running back. KW3 has been injured on and off throughout camp. So if he is the starter, which he will be, he's practicing today, so he's probably going to be ready for next week. But how healthy is he? And it's not like he hasn't had injury issues throughout his whole career. Let's go a level deeper. Is Sam Darnold really good? Or was he just a product of Kevin O'Connell's offense in Minnesota's system? Can he move this offense? I don't know the answer to that. That's the biggest question that I have with Sam Darnold was last year the best year of his career because of the system and KOC? Or is he just going to be same Darnold instead of Sam Darnold? I kind of think it's same Darnold. I think there's regression there for sure, but the question is how much regression?
I hope not. I have him in Dynasty. So
well, you better hope he starts fast and trade his ass. So here's who you're passing on. DK Metcalf. Spoiler alert, he's on the short list for next week's League Winners show. You're passing on DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, George Pickens. We already talked a little bit about Dallas. You're passing on Tet. You're passing on Jameson Williams. I would rather have every single wide receiver that I just named over KW3. And if you absolutely are telling me that I have to draft a running back, give me Isaiah Pacheco a round later. Is Isaiah Pacheco the same caliber running back that KW3 is? No. But Kareem Hunt's old. They're talking about my brain went blank. Elijah Mitchell being the third running back on this. Like, there's just nobody there. There's nobody competing with Isaiah Pacheco for touches. So while he's not the same tier, I think it's very possible he has a better season just simply because of competition in Seattle for those touches. So I probably won't have any KW3 in my redraft leagues this season just because the draft cost is too high and there's just so many better wide receivers, especially in a PPR format. Give me every single one of those receivers. And even in a half PPR, I would still take the receivers over KW3 in that spot.
And I agree with those receivers too.
Yeah.
That's a nice bunch of receivers right there.
Yeah.
That's a perfect spot. It's like to move on to that bubble, right? Of those guys that just you kind of want to skip, really. There's a couple of running backs right there that you just move on.
And I think it's hard because we talk a lot about how do you compare positionally when you have to pivot from a wide receiver to a running back in a half or a full PPR. Who's going to get the targets? We've got Thanos here, Thano5 saying, I think Sharp's going to eat a lot of his touches. I think we all agree with that. So yeah, it's difficult right now to project where you're saying, hey, how do we get him on the field when you've got another player who's, I think it's more of a committee, and again, where's Mike McDonald come from? Baltimore. What do the Harbaughs like to do? Have a committee backfield. The only reason that John Harbaugh doesn't have one is because he's got the king right now. Otherwise, that Baltimore has historically been a running back committee as well. So,
it has.
Let's flip it back to you and talk about another running
really
back.
Quick, I'm going to go through our peoples here. We got John Nickel here saying I'm off of Fields. Can't trust him or any Jets. I feel a lot like that. I really don't care for Fields.
The Jets are rough. Jets are rough. Yeah.
But Braylon Allen, I think I'd be okay with. I know, Brees Hall still something's going on over there. But I know some guy, to your point is we have a guy keeping Braylon Allen as a keeper. So it's kind of like it's kind of like using them as a dynasty, kind of player.
Yep.
Marvin Harrison and Garrett Wilson don't not draft for me. So basically, he's not looking at Marvin Harrison or Garrett Wilson. I have a couple shares of Garrett Wilson. Same situation that you're talking about, Justin Fields. It's like who's throwing the ball at these guys, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of tough. You got to have a good quarterback play, but some guys can. I mean, look at what's the name with the Giants last year that did really good with Danny Dimes. Malik Neighbors. I mean, some guys are quarterback proof. I'm not saying that Garrett Wilson is that, but he's been doing all right with shoddy quarterback play, I think, throughout his career, quite honestly.
I would just say this because I think Perk Almighty's got an interesting comment here, right? Not drafting ATN. Another one, Sam out on Ramondre. I think somebody up earlier had the comment here, I'm out on the Texans backfield. Here's what I would say in some of these situations. If it's ambiguous, pivot. That's the perfect time to pivot. I think that's one of the pieces of advice. If you don't agree with all the players we're talking about tonight, that's fine. Take this piece of truth with you. Pivot. If you think there is an ambiguous situation and you don't trust something, just get out of it. I don't know who the Browns starter is going to be. I think we all want it to be Dylan Sampson, but Jerome Ford just keeps lingering around, right? I think that's the challenge. Unless you have a Steelers situation where it's very clearly going to be Warren and Caleb Johnson, unless you have the Lions, where it's clearly Monty and Gibbs, and they're an outlier, of course, because we know what they can do, and Monty is an RB1
they're a
candidate.
different beast over
They're
there.
a different candidate, right? But I'm saying my point in bringing that up is like it is 100% clear that there are two guys, right? The Texans, they were a candidate for potentially where Brian Robinson Jr. was going to land. And I still think the Texans could end up trading for a running back somewhere. I think one of the Jaguars running backs, if it wasn't in the same division, would wind up in Houston. The only reason I think they're not is because it's the same division. So I think when it gets ambiguous, that's a good time to pivot to a different position. Take your quarterback, take a tight end you believe in, and shift over to wide receiver. So,
and I agree with you what you're saying. There's a lot of these running back by committee spots where you kind of don't know who the, let's say, true number one is or whatever, because they are by committees, but it's just too ambiguous. Yeah. I try to stay away from them. I mean, if you want to throw flyers with a late round pick, that's fine. But I would not rely on, some guys are taking these guys too high. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and Dylan Sampson, I know that I've seen a lot of people take him, but late, which is good. I mean, you want
late is perfect.
Good as late is good. Saying what's up with the Smoking the Cat here. How you doing, man? Doing well?
All right, Frank. One more running back.
I got one for you. I got one for you here. So I was looking at Najee Harris, man. Hasn't been doing it over there. And as a Pittsburgh comes over here to the Chargers, and everybody's just been talking Omarion Hampton. I just believe that he's a better option and a later pick. So you're going to get a lot more value out of him versus, and that's what we were talking about. Not necessarily you hate on Najee Harris or whatnot, but I just think that you're going to get Omarion Hampton much later and get just as much value out of that guy. You may not start him right off the bat because this is one of the guys that's a rookie, and you're going to wait a little while to see what he produces. So he's not your 1 and 2, but he's your 3 or 4, right? If you get him late, you could have a guy that produces some numbers. It might even be a starter or a flex for you as the season progresses. And traditionally, running backs are easier to plug and play early in their season versus wide receivers. I think wide receivers take a little bit more time to develop. Year 2 and 3 breakouts versus running backs, you got to get them early, get them while they're young and the fresh legs, and run them to the ground while you can. And I think that they're a good situation over there at the Chargers. I think that they have added some nice pieces this year and fixing some things over there. So I'd rather roll with Omarion Hampton at his ADP versus Najee Harris.
100%. Easy one for me. I've never been a big Najee guy. I think the most excited I was ever about Najee was his rookie season, and I think my excitement has diminished a little bit each season since. I haven't seen a picture of him. I would imagine he's going to play with a visor this season for 2 reasons. 1, for safety, and 2, I don't think he wants people to see that eye. I don't know what it looks like, and if you've seen a picture on Twitter or somewhere else, shoot it to me because I'd love to see it. I have serious concerns that he has no vision in that eye. For those that don't know, he had a quote unquote fireworks incident on July 4th.
Yep. I read about that.
And the last time we had a fireworks incident, Jason Pierre-Paul lost a couple of fingers there. So
he came up short.
Yeah, but at least he had 2 eyes to sack the quarterback with. Najee, I don't know if you know this, Frank, but eyes are pretty important for all players, especially running backs with their vision. I don't know that I want one with only 1 eye. So I also am going to be out on Najee, and I'll be honest, if I can trade him in my dynasty teams for anything, I'm probably doing it because I think this move to the Chargers from a dynasty perspective was probably pretty close to the last contract he's going to get. I think this is it now. So I'm going to be out on Aaron Jones, and I think this one's kind of easy, right? The narrative around Aaron Jones, he's turning 31 this season. They're tired of him. They're fatigued, but he was running back 15 last year. And so if you drafted Aaron Jones last season late, which a lot of people did, you were very pleasantly surprised with his ADP, beating his ADP projection and the type of results and returns he gave you. But the drumbeat all camp has been that Mason's the goal line guy, and Kevin O'Connell has not wavered on that. In fact, he's doubled down on it, saying very recently, Jordan Mason's going to get short yardage situation, and he's going to get the goal line work. So it's a similar question that I had on Kenneth Walker. Can J.J. McCarthy run this offense? He's technically a second-year player, but he's really a rookie. So to me, it's like the same questions we had about J.J. McCarthy in the draft process are still the same questions we are waiting to answer starting next week. Can the kid frickin' throw the ball? Because he didn't do a lot of it in Michigan. If he can throw the ball, great. That's awesome. You've got Justin Jefferson. You got the second best wide receiver in the league to throw it to, so I would throw it up there because Justin Jefferson can catch the ball. So
for sure.
to me, that's not the issue. The issue that I have is I'm very concerned because number one, Aaron Jones has an injury history. Number two, Jordan Mason's going to get the goal line work, and they're being drafted. Aaron Jones is at the RB 25 at the ADP of 607 right now. Again, you're passing on players like Jalen Waddle. You're passing on, if you want a position shift, Tyler Warren, who I think is a massive value at tight end. I know a ton of people are targeting him in their leagues.
I got shares of him. Mm-hmm.
As do I. If you really want to go late quarterback, you're passing on potentially like a Jared Goff if you want to wait till the 6th or 7th round to grab a quarterback, or later. You're passing on Golden. You're passing on Egbuka. And here's the caveat to everything I'm saying if you want to go position versus running back versus running back instead of switching positions. You are passing on Tony Pollard, who absolutely catches passes in an offense that I don't think is going to be super, with Spears now actually going out on the pup for the first 4 weeks of the season, with a rookie quarterback who's going to check it down. Give me Tony Pollard 100% of 100 times over Aaron Jones. Give me Jordan Mason, and I'll leave you with this for the Aaron Jones or truthers that are saying, well, you know, if because I heard this argument the other day. Well, if Jordan Mason's there, that means Aaron Jones should stay healthy because they'll spell him a little bit. Okay, I'll give you that. Here's his consistency metrics. Aaron Jones finishes as an RB1 28.9% of the time. He finishes as an RB2 26.7% of the time. He finishes as an RB3 31.3% of the time. So statistically, you are getting basically a coin flip, almost an equal chance that he could finish inside the top 12 at the same exact clip that he could finish outside of the 25 to 36 range every single week. I do not want that in the 6th round. I don't even want that on my team. I definitely don't want it in the 6th round if I could go get Tony Pollard, Tyler Warren, or one of the other potentially rookie receivers, a Matthew Golden in the Packers, or a Emeka Egbuka, of course, in Tampa Bay.
But if you want somebody, just wait for Mason.
Yeah, or just go grab Mason in the 7th. And that's who I'd rather have anyway. Let's move to wide receiver, Frank.
Hold on, really quick.
Yeah,
Almighty said there was a selfie for Najee with the helmet recently, and his eye was completely shut. So, you know, like your point, the guys, you know, running backs need vision. That's important.
Well, I will tell you this. I heard this rumor the other day that they are making a new Pirates of the Caribbean. So maybe he could be an extra for their Jack Black and Mr. Johnny Depp. Maybe it'll be Johnny Depp and the Najee Harris Patrol. So there you go. You know, there's always athletes go into film all the time, man. Come on. Do. Michael Jordan made Space Jam. Go on, Najee. Go be in the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So, Frank, let's talk about some do not draft wide receivers. And we'll start with you. And who's the first guy on your list here?
All right. So I had to pivot a little bit. I had a guy who was uninjured. I still want to, you know, give a shout out to him later on. But I'll just start with Hollywood Brown. You know, I think you mentioned him earlier here with, you know, being down here with Patrick Mahomes. Also because now they got Rashee Rice back. You got Xavier Worthy over there. Kelsey's hopefully should be playing a little bit better this year. I think this will be his last go around, quite honestly. And Hollywood Brown benefited from Rashee Rice being down and Xavier Worthy just being a rookie. So, you know, he was bumped up a little bit last year. I think more of a waiver wire ad, obviously. But, you know, he's faded down now. Not somebody that I would be looking at anymore. And I'm fading some of those guys on the Kansas City Chiefs for the same reasons that you mentioned earlier. Just not the same team, facing a difficult schedule. And, you know, the defense has been holding them in the games, and I think that they probably continue again this year, obviously. But I think that Rashee Rice, you know, hopefully the suspension's a little bit short, not that short. Who knows what happens?
We don't know.
6 game? Is it 10? What is he going to get? I got to share of him a couple times, but, you know, just to, you know, you got to have that guy because he is good. I mean, that guy's he had caught a ball behind his back almost in the preseason here. So he's good, but you know what are you going to get out of him? I just want to stay away from those guys like Xavier Worthy being, you know, hopefully maybe a breakout season because they did use him quite a bit last year. Yeah. They were just doing end arounds with him because he's so fast. They were just trying to get him the ball one way or another.
Yep.
So I feel like Xavier Worthy's who I would be targeting on that team, if anybody.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I find myself number one, social proof. I've done it. I have a lot of Pacheco Number two, I find myself in this last draft that I have coming up. I think Pacheco's the only guy in Kansas City I feel really comfortable with right now. The receiver core is pretty ambiguous. I'm just out on Kelsey. I think the best days are behind him, and I've obviously clearly laid out the case against Patrick Mahomes this season. So I'm not going to have a lot of exposure to the Chiefs this season outside of Pacheco. If you want to take the risk, if you're still, I'm done with best ball, but if you're still drafting best ball, Hollywood actually is the guy that I would take late because he's so cheap, but only in a best ball format because you don't have to fricking start him. I think, Frank, to your point, if you draft Hollywood, he's going to drive you nuts all season. So I don't want to deal with that. So
yeah,
I wrote this name down early in the show doc, and I know it's going to piss some people off. And I want you to listen before you blow me up in the chat because I'm going to get blown up for this one. I am putting the do not draft tag on Puka Nacua. And I know that's going to make people grumpy and tell me that I don't know what I'm doing and all these things. And that's fine because remember, we said don't take Sam Laporta last season at his ADP. We said don't take CJ Stroud at his ADP, right? Here's what I'm going to say before I lay the case against Puka out. I love Puka Nacua. I think Puka Nacua is a phenomenal player. I would love to have Puka Nacua on every single roster in every single place that I possibly can because I believe in the talent of the player. Here's why he's on my do not draft list. He is going off the board as the wide receiver 6 as an ADP of 107 on Sleeper, which I think is where most people are playing. I've seen some Yahoo and some ESPN where he's going at like the turn at the 11, 12, maybe even slipping into the second round. Here is why I'm saying don't draft Puka. Because you are giving up, when you are taking a first round pick, if that player is a bust or if that player does not return value, you are giving up Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, who should have massive targets this season.
Yeah.
The issues that I have with Puka has nothing to do with the player. It has to do with two things. Number one, that I just laid it out, that first round pick, you've got to get that player right. Number two, I am concerned about Matthew Stafford. Stafford has just started practicing this last week. And it's not like when you practice, Frank, you know this, you can wear a red jersey. That means for those that are brand new to football, don't hit me, can't hit the quarterback. Those are his teammates. They ain't hitting him. I promise you, when he's not in a red jersey, Sean McVay is blowing every single play where a defensive lineman or linebacker is coming through for a potential sack, dead instantly because they are trying to keep him healthy. This is a guy who is probably, I think this is it for Stafford. I think this is his last season in the NFL because of injury concerns. At the end of the day, he hasn't practiced. Is he playing all 17? Probably not. McVay is coming out and saying, this is a guy we're going to have to manage. He is giving the coach's answer. Well, we're doing this, we're doing that. Oh, he's here today. If you have to, I'm going to make the flip case, the inverse case really quickly. If you believe in the Rams and you do believe that Stafford is going to play all 17 games, great. Take Davante Adams. Because Davante Adams is a target monster. He is a red zone weapon. He's going off the board in the 4th round as the wide receiver 19. So let's say for 1 second that Stafford doesn't play all 17. There's a reason not to draft Puka. Let's say that Stafford plays all 17. Give me the better value in Davante Adams because I think that takes away from Puka. I don't think Puka, except for the 1 year, his rookie season, when Cooper Kupp was still mostly Cooper Kupp, and did miss some time that season, I just can't see a world where they're going to ignore Davante Adams as a red zone threat. And that's where Puka has always made his money. He's going to have 100-yard games. I think he's going to have some great games this season. But Stafford has to be healthy. Adams has to miss time, or they have to just feature Puka in a specific game script. The Rams defense is still pretty good, so I don't know that they're going to have the shootouts that they've had. I just put it this way. In order for Puka to finish as a top 6 wide receiver, I think more things have to go right than they could potentially go wrong. And I just see more things potentially going wrong between Stafford's back and the offensive line and Davante Adams being there. Sean McVay was showing, Frank, he was showing film to his team of how to run routes. And the film he was showing was Davante Adams routes. You think Sean McVay's not going to get the ball to Davante Adams in the red zone? And don't forget, Kyron Williams is there. Sean McVay historically has always featured one running back. So I know that's going to piss people off. And I know people are going to be like, how could you possibly say don't draft Puka? I'm not saying Puka is going to be a bust. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying in the first round, if I am drafting between the 6 and the 12, I'm going to 100% have to make the decision on drafting Puka. I would rather take Nico. I would rather take Amon-Ra. I would take BTJ and Drake London personally. I know that's still a little.
BTJ and Drake London, I wouldn't even think about it.
Well, I think at the 106 it's a little high. So if I'm doing something, I would probably take a running back there. If I'm being honest, I would. It's not because I'm a Niners fan.
fallen that far.
That's what I was just going to say. I am still in on CMC this year. I know that comes with its own risk, and that's a huge issue. But I would rather take CMC. You know what I mean? I would rather take Saquon. Probably won't fall that far, but if you're in a home league and the receivers go really high, then I would certainly take Saquon, right? I would take other players over Puka at that 106 position. So, I see some guys in the chat, I can't go London, but I would absolutely go BTJ. Would you take
you got Rafi Bomb here saying Moran's fan would rather Adams over at his EDP over Puka, and also Perk Almighty. Perk Almighty saying the same thing. I don't like taking Puka over the wide receivers of the range because I like taking Adams in round 4. And that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that he's a bad player, that he's going to
correct.
He's just bust you at that.
Correct. And I'll say this. ADP. I had the 112 last season in a league, and I don't remember who I took in the first round. I took a receiver, but I really believed in the Nick Chubb season for Cleveland last year. I think a lot of people were excited about Nick Chubb, and I passed. I shouldn't have, but I passed on. CeeDee Lamb somehow was available. I think I took Justin Jefferson at the 112. Something happened last season where Jefferson was still available. I don't remember how. Maybe I'm confusing myself. But I took a receiver, and then I took Nick Chubb. And it tanked my season because he played, 6 quarters, 4 quarters of football, whatever it was, 2 quarters of football. He was out within the first game or two. So I just want you to sit for half of a minute of your full 60-second clock. Sit for 30 seconds and really ask yourself, is Stafford going to support a top 5 wide receiver in Puka Nacua with his own injuries that he's got going on, with Kyron Williams and with Devontae Adams? And if the answer is yes, then draft Puka Nacua. If the answer is no, take one of the other wide receivers, take a running back, and just let someone else deal with it. That is my take on Puka.
Stafford already got some. He got a epidural in his back already. That's all you need to know about that. And Twookie Ott here saying, would you take Amon-Ra and Nico over Puka?
Yes.
I
would take both.
Yeah.
Because Goff looks great. And I look, Nico, CJ, I think CJ Stroud's going to have a better season than he had last year. He may not have a MVP, obviously can't be rookie of the year, but he may not have the kind of season that he had his rookie season, but I still think he's going to be very good. But it's hard for me with a player who got an epidural, who's just not healthy. Stafford, he's just not healthy. So I think it's challenging when you've got the type of talent that he has around him competing for targets to say definitively that you're drafting a guy at wide receiver 6 who is going to finish. Because here's my last kind of point. When I'm drafting a wide receiver that high, what I am asking myself realistically is, can this player finish as the number 1 overall player at his respective position? And I don't see a range of outcomes without a 17-game healthy Matt Stafford where Puka can finish as the overall wide receiver 1. Not with Jamar Chase, not with Justin Jefferson, not with some of these other players that are there. So I can't see the path forward. So that's where I'm at with Puka.
Nice take. Let's go. Let's see who do I got next here. Brandon Ayuk, man. I think we were talking about him earlier. I want to just mention, he came back from his injury from last year. I had him last year. What a bust he was. He was supposed to be coming back, and next he gets re-injured again. Just a total bust all last year. I haven't seen him, really produce what he did, should have been doing right before he got signed, which was, catching the ball deep, getting some good open targets, looking really good. I mean, basically, Jawan Jennings stole the show for him last year, and he's yet to sign. But I mean, I'm looking at Ricky Pearsall as a better pick. He's just the guy to have over there at the Niners. If you get anybody, that's I'm looking at, and George Kittle is just I mean, what's he moving up to, like tight end number 3 here? Or I've seen some guys take him in second, third rounds already. Like they're just moving George Kittle way up, which he has been producing those numbers, and it just basically means more touches for him, less touches for some other guys, and that means Brandon Ayuk may be the guy that's taking the hit there. I'm sorry that I didn't get at the numbers as that Phil has been doing. That was a short notice here, so I did throw some guys here together. But that's the guy who I'm fading on. I'd just rather have a Ricky Pearsall. I might even take a late flower, Jawan Jennings. Hopefully, maybe he signs. And George Kittle is up there. I'm fading on tight ends altogether. Quite honestly,
Yeah.
I messed up, and I know we're coming up next on that part of it. So I'm gonna hold that little take for a second. But yeah, Ricky Pearsall is the guy to have over there at San Francisco. He seems to be primed, ready to be the man. And his ADP, I think he's going in the 6th and 7th round. You can't beat it.
Now that Rasta is doing his best original Godfather and the Don is semi-retired, as the resident in-house San Francisco Niners fan, if it's not Kittle, Pearsall, or McCaffrey, I'm not drafting him. That's it. Those are the only 3 guys on San Francisco that I want. And I don't want Brian Robinson Jr. I know he's a very, very high value insurance back. I don't like drafting guys hoping that somebody ahead of him is going to get injured.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't want to play that game. So, my second receiver is this. I know this one is a little bit quote unquote easy, but I've seen him continuously go, and his ADP hasn't changed, and that is why I'm bringing this player up, because it scares me that his ADP hasn't dropped. It's Chris Olave.
Oh yeah.
Spencer Rattler was just named the QB1. Before I talk about Chris Olave, I just want to share some stats with you, Frank. Spencer Rattler played 7 games last year. This man finished inside the top 12 0 times in those 7 games, meaning he did not return QB1 numbers. He finished as a QB2, meaning a QB 13 to 24, 57% of the time. And for those playing the home game that are good at math, that means he finished as a QB3, which is not a startable quarterback in a 1-quarterback league and is probably not helping you at all in a superflex league, 43% of the time. That is who is throwing the ball to Chris Olave. They've got issues down in St. Louis. Sorry, there is no football team in St. Louis, in New Orleans. Chris Olave, Kendall and I talk about this all the time. Any player can get hurt on any play, but Chris Olave, not unlike Tua, has had his concussion issues. That is something that I worry about with re-injury. His ADP right now, and this is what is concerning to me, his ADP is in the 7th round, meaning he's wide receiver 34 off the board. He is going ahead of, let's say that you are I know Mike's not here, but I know there are some guys, Mike being one of them, who are all in on Bo Nix. If you want to load up with your first 6 rounds of wide receivers and running backs and you want to grab Bo Nix in the 7th, I have no problem with that pick in the 7th round. I fucking love that pick. Great. Go for it. We've mentioned these guys' names a ton. You're giving up Ricky Pearsall, we just talked about. Giving up Jalen Waddle, who is right now, I believe, going to be the wide receiver 1 in Miami, because Tyreek is we don't have the time in the day to do the show just on Tyreek because the news is just bad. He's missing practice after practice. Him and Tua aren't getting along. You're giving up Waddle. You're giving up Egbuka. You're giving up Jalen Warren, who we talked about earlier, who I would love to get in the 7th round as my running back 3 if I can. So he's a great, phenomenal flex player and a great bye week fill-in. So I still see Chris Olave going off the board, which it bothers me, right? And I think the inverse argument is similar to what we can make about Garrett Wilson. There's nobody else there. Okay, fine. Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. Well, DK Metcalf. Well, there's nobody else there for them to throw the ball to. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. So my issue with Chris Olave, quote unquote, being the guy, it's what are the quality of targets that he's going to get? You can talk about volume all you want because we love volume. We're always chasing volume in fantasy football. Volume is king. If you want to draft a New Orleans Saint who's going to get volume, draft number 41. Go get Alvin Kamara. That's the guy you want to go enter, right? That's the guy you want to go and put on your list because that's the player who, at the end of the day, if I'm Spencer Rattler, you better be best freaking friends with Alvin Kamara, because that guy should see everything.
Oh,
They have no tight end. So it's like, where is the ball going to go? If I'm Kellen Moore, I'm just trying to get through the season to finish. To be fair, I think the Saints are going to have the 101.
It's going to go back to my guy, Taysom Hill. Don't forget him.
Could if he even plays. So
yeah.
I think Kirk Cousins. I've said this. If it wasn't the Falcons, Kirk Cousins would and should be the starting quarterback at some point this season for the New Orleans Saints. He won't be because it's their own division, but Kirk Cousins is the best name that I can think of that should be starting for the New Orleans Saints if they're just trying to get through the season, because I firmly believe, given the fact that there's a Manning who was pretty darn famous there at one point, I think the Saints are going to do everything they can. I don't think Arch comes out next year, so I think they miss out on the sweepstakes, but it's very possible that the Saints have the 101 next season in the real NFL draft, trade it for draft capital to start loading up because they've got a whole bunch of issues on that team. The cap situation from the Derek Carr contract is a disaster. And then they have another really bad season in 27 and they win the Arch Manning Stakes. And I think that's realistically, if I'm the GM, that's what I would do. I would trade the number 1 pick next year for as much as I could possibly get and go start recruiting the shit out of Arch Manning. So I know it's the NFL. You can't recruit him to sign there, but make him a sales pitch that if you're going to draft him number 1 overall, that he should be there. Because remember, his uncle got drafted and decided he wasn't going to play in San Diego and went over to New York. So stay away from Chris Olave. I know the volume should be there. I know the name is good, 7th round, but it's a mess, guys. It's a mess, and I think there's better players there at that position or at that range.
It's a counterpoint. There will be no hospital balls thrown Olave's way because Rattler couldn't even hit the broadside of a barn.
I don't know if that's a counterpoint. I think that's making the point, but it's certainly it's more of an in addition to point. So thanks Vince. We appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Frank, you have two names at the tight end position, so I'm going to go first because you should go first.
I'll give you my guy.
Yeah.
I give you my guy, Kyle Pitts here. I think we had year after year. I remember we first started the league. We got to get Kyle Pitts. This guy's the talent. He's going over there, Atlanta. He has nobody else's, competing for touches with them, and bombs that year. Oh no, this next year it's going to be his year. It's fine. Well, but last year still, I think people were still touting him. This should be his breakout. I don't know what anybody needs to hear or see about this guy. He should not be drafted, period. As far as I'm concerned, as far as there's so many other tight ends right now that are producing all kinds of just worth. I mean, some of these guys are talking about grabbing David Njoku late, Hunter Henry. I know Anthony waited for Hunter Henry in our league that we just drafted recently.
Yeah.
His literally last pick, and Anthony is happy with that guy. I've seen a couple of people take Kyle Pitts, and I was even putting him in there in our drafts that we were having on mocks. I was like, if you were taking that guy even at all, you're just wasting a pick. Like there's some of the other options, rookies or somebody else you'd rather have and take a shot at than Kyle Pitts. The people just need to move on for him. He had a lot of potential. It just didn't pan out. Unfortunately, that happens with some guys. That's why I kind of hold off on rookies. I mean, in his case, if you're doing best ball, you kind of got not best ball, dynasty league, you got to go with these rookies. You got to take your shot on these guys. This guy just didn't make it in the NFL. I just feel like that happens with some players. They have all the potential in the world. It just doesn't convert in the NFL. They just, for whatever reason, the game's a little faster for them. Maybe they were just look good in college and the system they were in college, and it just didn't work for them in the NFL. Whatever, multitude of reasons that they're out there for, wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs. In this case, he's just a tight end that just didn't work out. It's just unfortunate, but I'm just moving on from him.
Agreed. And it pains me because I grew up in Gainesville, Florida. I love the Florida Gators. That is my college football team. And I, more so than anything else, I'll just take my fantasy hat off for a second and put on my fan hat. I always want the Gators to do well in the NFL. I'm so bummed that Anthony Richardson. We don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Richardson. Hopefully
he straightens it out.
It seems like he's headed for backup life, and hopefully, we never want anyone to get injured, but hopefully he gets a chance to become a starter again and figures it out. You're right. But the Trey Lance vibes and the Trey Lance stench is starting to stink around Anthony Richardson. So, yeah, the reality is, and you know this, Frank, there are just far more busts in the NFL than there are success stories, regardless of where where you were drafted and the draft capital invested. That's just the nature of the beast. But one of my best buddies, actually, we are going to the Niners game in 2 weeks, the opening game of the season in Seattle. He just sent me a DM on Instagram with I don't know who made the video, but the guy that you've probably seen it, the guy that's sitting there going, draft Kyle Pitts. Draft Kyle Pitts.
I didn't see that.
Draft.
That's funny.
Yeah, some guy who's just, yeah. And he's like, I can't do it. He's like, I don't care. I can't do it. Someone took him in my league with the very last pick, and I just can't have him on my roster. And I was like, you're fine passing on Kyle Pitts. So,
yeah.
I really don't like the fact that I'm going to bring this player up again because he was on last year's show, and he's going to be on this year's show. And I love the player. It's Sam Laporta. And again, I'm not saying don't draft Sam Laporta because he's not good at football. Here's what I'm saying.
His ADP.
His ADP. But with the tight ends, it's different. It's ADP and here's the and. If you are not getting one of the big three, meaning if you are not getting Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, or George Kittle, please punt the position. Frank, you just said Hunter Henry. Anthony took him in the last round of the draft, right? You could go get Mason Taylor, who is going to be a start. I know the Jets are not, we're not excited about the Jets, but I'd rather have Mason Taylor, who is going to be Justin Fields' buddy, because there is no one besides Garrett Wilson to catch the ball, and there's a running back committee that's there, which means there's not enough volume to support them. I'd rather have Mason Taylor as a flyer on my last draft pick because I can drop him in week 1 if he sucks and go stream the position. I personally would love to invest in Tyler Warren. Everyone would. I'd rather invest in a player like that where I think there's good volume and a better offense, et cetera, all the reasons, right? But here's my problem with Sam Laporta. He's going in the 5th round as the tight end 4 at the 4'11, at the 4'5 turn. His ADP right now is 4'11, 4'12. You are passing on phenomenal wide receivers and running backs in that range. I want to give 4 names. I want to give 4 names in the range that you are going to pass on to draft Sam Laporta. 2 of them are his teammates. One of them is David Montgomery. The other one is Jameson Williams. If you pass on Jameson Williams to draft Sam Laporta, please come and join my leagues. I would love to play against you. Devonta Smith, and here's the biggest name of all, Travion Henderson. Please do not take Sam Laporta over Jameson Williams or Travion Henderson in a half or full PPR league. Please don't do it in a standard league. Last year, he finishes the tight end 8. We talk about this every year, Frank, every single year. If you are not in the top 4 tight ends at the end of the season, there is not a lot of variance between the tight end 5 and the tight end fill in the last number.
Yeah,
let me give you some numbers from last season. Are you ready? In a full PPR league, Brock Bowers, 263 points. Trey McBride, 250 PPR points. George Kittle, 237 PPR points. Jonnu Smith, 222 points. The tight end 5 was Travis Kelce at 195 points. The variance between Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta was only 20 points between tight end 5 and tight end 8. You cannot convince me that for 175 full PPR points, that is worth the 5th round. It's just not. Not when you can go get a projected player. A.J. Brown has missed some time this offseason already. He's probably going to be okay. Devonta Smith is a smash player on a great offense if A.J. Brown misses time. Everybody and their grandmother, every single analyst, every fantasy show, every article, podcaster is talking about the Jameson Williams breakout season that we all expect is coming and we believe can come because we've seen the social proof. Oh, yeah. We know the value of David Montgomery. Everybody in this world understands that. I won't speak it into existence because of the amount of Gibbs that I own. We know the value of Monty if he is to become the starting running back. And the value of Monty if Gibbs is there is already built into the ADP, into his cost. Travion Henderson is the hot running back name. We want him. We want to see what he can do over 17 games. I love Sam. I would take, if Sam's there, he won't be. But if he's there in the 8th, give me Sam Laporta in the 8th, sure. But again, why am I paying a 5th round when I could go get Tyler Warren in the 8th or 9th round, who probably, I think realistically, there is a path and a world that exists where Tyler Warren outproduces on a points per game basis and as a final total points per season, outproduces Sam Laporta this year in year 1.
And to your point, man, I feel sick to my stomach. I took him in our, I think this is the listener league. And we're doing the super flex. I took him in the 7th round, Sam Laporta here, and I just kept looking at the players that went after him, like Emeka Buka, even Jalen Waddle, even further down, Matthew Golden, Jalen Warren. To your point, went after. I could have had those guys. Those guys were in my availability, and literally after that, I was like, my draft just not even feel right. It doesn't even. I think I just messed up right there. Like literally, I just felt like I messed up. Now I got to live with it. You got to kind of correct. And I haven't been able to fix the ship since then. Like I feel like I messed up on that, and I would have been happier to take guys like Colston Loveland, another guy over there in Chicago. Tucker Kraft, who I'm very high on, this year. David Njoku, we mentioned earlier. All these guys, I could have just waited on that position. As you mentioned, you're just, it's fill in the blank after these certain guys at that certain level, and you're going to get the same numbers or close enough to the same numbers that you're like, why waste the capital when you could get another guy that has a higher upside versus this guy. I like the guy. He just, and I like the team there. The Lions are good, but got to move on.
Yep, it's hard. It's the reason we said don't draft him in the 2nd round last year. And look, I'm just going to say this for 10 seconds, and then I know you've got a guy we're going to get to here. It is the reason why I personally do not draft a Brock Bowers in the 2nd round. I love Brock Bowers. I think he's phenomenal. But again, in order for Brock Bowers to pay off his draft cost in the 2nd round, he has to finish as the tight end 1. He has to. And if he does, great. You have a phenomenal pick. You have a clear positional advantage.
Not just tight end 1, but the number, the points that he has to produce for the tight end. It's not just being tight end.
He has to outproduce
the amount that he has to produce. Yeah,
correct. And he has to finish basically as a top 12 wide receiver. He has to finish inside of the top 12 wide receivers. I know he's a tight end, but so to nitpick, give me George Kittle in round 4 over Brock Bowers in round 2. If you're really splitting hairs on the top 3 guys. So, all right, Frank, let's wrap this up. You've got one more guy to go, and let's finish the show with this one.
This year with these mock drafts, I was digging everybody was taking Brock Bowers.
Everybody.
I didn't mention it like literally now, but if I seen a tight end that high, I was like, your draft looks like crap. I mean, you could see it. You could see the guys that they had after that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't see it. And it was Ashanti Gentry over there. They're going to be running the ball heavy now. Anyways, my last guy here that we're going to talk about is Mark Andrews. I know that he's moved up a lot because of the Isaiah Likely injury, but he will be likely to return. And it may be the same situation that we had last year where Andrews started. I had him. I was like, oh, Andrews is putting up great numbers, had a late pick with them. He's always had a really good rapport there with Lamar Jackson, but then they just moved away from him, and Likely is the younger, faster guy. It seemed like Andrews lost a step, but he runs crisp routes, good routes, but still it was like the move to Isaiah Likely show. It just happened like overnight, all of a sudden over there, and I just don't feel that Mark Andrews is going to be doing that guy. And he's been moving up in drafts. I've seen him creep up more and more. And I was like, oh, Likely's done. I'm like, I don't think Likely's done. And I don't think he's done for the year, certainly. And you're just going to end up with the same mess that you've had before, where you're picking Andrews up way too early, as we were talking about with these ADPs. And he's not going to produce that number. I'm just, some of these guys that we just mentioned, you're just better off with. And I feel, a lot happier with, Warren, Colston Loveland, Kraft, Hawkinson, maybe even, I don't know, David Njoku for sure. He's so late. All these other guys that you could just have at later ADPs to basically help your team and probably produce the same numbers, if not better numbers than Andrews. I'm just done with him, basically. Just got to move on from the guy.
Agreed. Yeah, it's hard because I think it's similar to a couple names we brought up tonight, right? Patrick Mahomes being the most obvious one. Like, it's a big name. It's a big name. But is it the same big name this season as it has been for the past 4 or 5? I mean, not last year, but the last couple of seasons when it was really the Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce were justified 1st and 2nd round picks because they were consistently outproducing the majority of wide receivers in that range because they were their team's wide receiver 1.
Yeah, Kelce had a heyday for years.
For years, Kelce was the wide receiver 1 in Kansas City, and Mark Andrews was the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore. So It's hard for me because I love Mark Andrews, but I'll be honest, I don't think Isaiah likely misses as much time as people think he's going to. Sure, he's not going to be ready week 1, but if you tell me that I have Tyler Warren and I could go and get, I don't know if Isaiah Likely's on the pup. Is he? I don't think he is.
I think he's off the pup now.
Yeah, which means he won't get, well, my point was I was about to make was like, if you could grab Isaiah Likely and stash him on your IR for a couple weeks, which I don't think you can because he doesn't carry the designation. But if you get into a league where Isaiah Likely is not drafted, put him on your watch list and grab him a week early. If the news comes out that they're expecting a week 3 return, drop the worst player on your team in week 2 and put your fab in to get Likely, because you're going to have a great return second half of the season when he's fully healthy. So that's going to do it for this episode of The Extra Point. I just threw the link in the chat for those that are on YouTube. If you are not, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the show. You can follow me at The Extra Point FFB. That's where I'm at on YouTube. Certainly jump on to Patreon and Spotify. For those that are not watching the show, you can always listen along there as a true podcast. I think we got one question here that we want to get to, Frank. Perk Almighty saying,
I see that.
I got one question before we go for the tournament. Oh, it's a best ball day.
Yeah.
He's asking a question about our Tournament of Champions best ball draft on Friday. Can we get 60 seconds instead of 30? We battled to get there. We deserve the extra 30 seconds. I will defer to you, but before you answer that, Frank, if you are watching the show and you are not aware of what Perk is asking, all summer at Get Right Fantasy Network, we host a mock draft tournament. It is a great way to mock draft. It is a great way to see, obviously, where can you take some risk, where can you make some mistakes and they don't cost you anything, where can you reach on some certain players that you like. But we, the Get Right Fantasy Network staff, we grade all of those, and then eventually we narrow down all of the mocks into a semifinal and then a finalists, and then we have a true 12-team best ball format tournament that is going to be starting up, as Perk shouted out here this Friday. It is free. And obviously we will continue to make it such as a free entry. But it is, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, we got a little prize going on here.
There's a $50 cash prize. $50 cash. Yeah. So there is money involved. So we give it away. Yep. It is what it is. And to answer your question, I'm going to have to bring it up with Mike and just kind of, because they've been running the league. I personally would not do best ball anymore. I want them to play it out, because you're drafting differently. You draft a little bit differently. You don't have to manage the team if you're just doing best ball. And some of it, we're drafting as if it were a redraft league, a lot of them. And I just feel that, that would be good. But I don't know if everybody wants to just be in another league because of that. And I think that's why we did it where it's just the best ball. So you could just get one more draft in and you're set it and forget it. Best man wins and call it a day. But I don't see a problem with getting 60 seconds. I mean, why not? It just takes a little longer. You guys are pretty fast. I mean, you guys are on average, 35 minutes for the draft that they were doing?
Yeah, that goes quick. Yeah, it goes quick.
They were quick. So you guys are not messing around. It's even
well, that's the point, right? Like when you draft
10 seconds.
when you do enough mocks, I mean, you pretty much know the ADPs, you know the board inside and out, right? You do enough of these, you're pretty sharp. So where guys are where you're gonna have to reach around early for certain guys, because Travion Henderson, because they're getting steamed up. Well, that's going to do it for this show. We will be back next week, and we will do it right before the season with our league winners. If you have already drafted, then you will be hopefully hearing some of the guys that are on your roster's names called and discussed. If you haven't drafted, pay attention, because we'll have a couple of names for you that you should be circling and highlighting in your cheat sheets as we get into here the next season of fantasy football. So, Frank, always a pleasure, my guy. Good to see you, man.
Sure, we're gonna have to do it again, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think we will definitely do more shows as the season grows on. But for all of us here at Get Right Fantasy Network, for myself, Phil Ruskin, this has been another episode of The Extra Point. Appreciate you all being here. We out.
Provided I will lock in every way. So go